Hi, we're going to make this card using the Beautiful You stamp set. You're going to need layering circle dies, StazOn ink, pink Pirouette ink with an Aqua Painter, and I'm using some backgrounds I already created from a previous video, and you can see I have coordinating paper and coordinating ribbon that I'm going to use with my card. You'll also need a good pair of scissors to fussy cut and delicate white doilies available in the New Occasions catalog. To begin with, use your StazOn ink and the figure and stamp on the shimmery white cardstock, which is perfect for watercoloring, and it is available in the annual catalog. I'm also using some DSP, and in this case, these are just scraps that I have laying around. I'm going to go ahead and pull some out in order to coordinate what I want my figure to wear. It's almost like paper doll dressing. I just take my StazOn ink and I stamp on the DSP skirt patterns, shirt patterns, and even a hat pattern. Now I'm looking for other colors that I can coordinate using the same DSP stack for either a hat or for a shirt or blouse pattern. And in this case, I'm just playing around. This is such an easy project and it's so much fun that you can kind of go through several pieces of DSP and kind of come up with your favorite combination for dressing your figure. That's why it's kind of fun and almost like paper doll dressing. Here I'm cleaning my stamp using my StazOn ink cleaner, because if you leave the StazOn ink on your rubber stamps, it will stain them. So now that I have my figures, I'm going to go ahead and cut out very carefully the blouse, and I'm using the outline, carefully fussy cutting around. There's what my blouse color is going to look with that coordinating skirt. My other blouse for the other skirt pattern that I've chosen. And now my skirt. Now we're going to put a ruffle on this skirt, so as you can see, I'm actually just cutting the skirt and I'm not cutting any part of the leg. So I just very carefully go around that. So there's my skirt. Again, I'm cutting the skirt and not cutting the leg and cutting around the leg. So now I'm going to cut my figure using my layering circles die, and I'm going to add pigment to the arms and legs of my figure using an Aqua Painter very, very lightly. And all I'm trying to do is get a hint of color for my figure. And whenever you have more water than you have pigment, you can always use a tissue and just kind of blot that off. Now, since we've used the StazOn ink, this is very easy to just color in, watercolor our figure. There's no bleeding. If you use a Memento ink, that is going to bleed. Here I'm just squeezing my ink container to get more pigment on my lid, doing my other figure. And she's barefoot, so I'm making sure that I get all the way from her toes to the skirt. And there you go. Again, always clean your Aqua Painter and make sure that the point of the Aqua Painter is pointed. Here I'm putting my skirt and I'm coordinating what blouse pattern is going with what skirt and playing around, making decisions at the last minute, because that's kind of the fun part of making this card and using this technique to dress your figure. You can also see I've cut out little hats and I'm kind of looking for the right combination to go with my figure. And in some cases they're solid color, in other cases they're from DSP. Now we're going to put on a petticoat, and you're going to cut just a sliver, a pie shape, and you're going to fit the ruffle around your skirt and then go ahead and cut off the remaining paper. Then I use a little bit of SNAIL just to hold it in place so that I can then glue it onto my circle. Again, cutting a pie shape, and if you look at that pie shape, it's a small scallop and a large scallop. I'm using the small scallop at the top of the skirt and the large scallop to go around the other part of the skirt. There you go. Just kind of trimming around. And now I'm going to adhere it, and I'm going to use a little bit of the Tombow glue. This gives you, if you use Tombow, you're able to kind of slide your cut piece around to make sure you have it in the right space. Now it's just a matter of gluing the other portions of our figure's outfit, and I'm putting the Tombow directly on the figure and then using a tool to kind of get it into place. Kind of slide it around so that it is perfectly where I want it positioned. Now I'm going to put my hat. Here I'm using the eraser because I got a little bit of glue on my circle. And if you use your eraser, you are able to remove any Tombow adhesive, or any adhesive for that matter. You just have to be delicate. What I like about the Shimmery white cardstock is that it's a little bit heavier and it can handle not only the glue and the watercolor, but also using the eraser to get any glue off. Did you notice how I used my X-Acto blade to take off any extra Tombow glue so that I didn't run into the same problem where it kind of leaked out on my cardstock? Here I'm just using some black to darken her hair and make that kind of stand out a little bit more. Now I'm using this is a Tombow product, and all I'm doing is I'm adding some shade to my figure. I'm following around her leg and around her skirt, and it's just going to make the figure look a little bit more three-dimensional, and it's not going to look as flat. And I'm showing here, you can see the difference between the flat figure and then if you have just a little bit of shadow underneath the arm, underneath the leg, using this very light gray that I got from a large box store. I will put any details in my down in the box of my video description. Again, working around to make sure that I get all the glue off. And there you go. So the next step is to put my figure on their coordinating background. And this is so much fun because you can use DSP and different backgrounds and kind of come up with the combination that you're really looking for. And since all of Stampin' Up! DSP papers and ribbons are all coordinated, this really makes it a lot of fun and very easy to do. So that's pretty much what I've decided on my combination. Now I'm going to put my circle on my scalloped cutout, and I'm using DSP because it just gives me an opportunity to kind of slide it around to exactly where I want my figure so that all my scallops nicely show up nicely. So I've got that part. Now I'm going to add a ribbon accent, and it's just basically going to go across the middle of my background. Now if you look at my other YouTube videos, you can see where I made this background using the Celebrations stamps. So you can get those directions there. Now, once I line up my ribbon, I just take some SNAIL in order to put it into place so it doesn't slip, but it does give me a little bit of room to center it. I'm going to put on my dimensionals because I want my figure to stand up against my background. And here I'm just simply using a corner cutter to round my edges, which kind of goes with the scallop look of not only my my figure, the lace that's on the background, so that goes nicely there. I'm going to do the same thing with my other figure. I'm using the scrunched ribbon that is available in the annual catalog, and it is also using the new In Color, which I believe is Sweet Sugar Plum. Again, cutting my circles, taking advantage of kind of that round, scalloped feel for my card, putting plenty of dimensionals on to not only hold my layer in place, but also those dimensionals are going to go around and on my ribbon to make sure that my ribbon stays in place. There you go. Clean my Tombow glue. And now I'll put them on the background. On my base card, again, cutting my corners so that everything kind of coordinates nicely. I'm using Rich Razzleberry and Mint Macaroon for my background cards, background base. I'm also using the peel tape, which I love for putting on these heavy layers, especially when there's ribbon, because if you'll notice, I put the peel tape on over my ribbon to ensure that it will stay in place and not get pulled out. And now I'm simply going to remove the back of the tape using my X-Acto blade. You can see all the different, the technique, the color technique on the back of the paper, which again, refer to my earlier YouTube video. I'm using the Tombow glue because that will ensure a nice, solid, and adhesion to my base card. Same technique. The Tombow glue on the back in conjunction with the peel tape, the tear tape rather, will make sure that your layer adheres and does not pucker at all, especially since this particular layer has been, I've used reverse embossing. So sometimes those can curl. So you want to make sure that you get those on square. So there you go. Now as the finishing touch, I'm going to use my corner punch and make some very delicate little corner cutouts that are going to go on the inside of my card with my sentiment. And that looks just really pretty attached with SNAIL. You can put any sentiment you want on the inside. But that is just such a pretty card. There you go. Beautiful you with a ruffled petticoat. And here are the stamp sets that are featured in this card. Thank you for watching and happy stamping.